Hello everyone, I am Prasanna Kumar, Senior Research and Program Associate at Asian Conference. I welcome you to our latest episode of Groundspeak series on the topic Women-led Rural Tourism along the international borders of Northeast India and Meghalayan Pacific. We have a very special guest with us today, Professor Benjamin Lyngdoh from HOD Tourism and Hotel Management Department, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. I welcome you to our show, Professor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Let me begin with my first question. Concerning tourism in Northeast India, despite having all the tourist attractions, the region has still remained largely untapped in terms of tourism. So, in this context, what opportunities do you think does exist for women-led rural tourism initiatives in Northeast India?
Thank you so much, Prasanna, for that question. Tourism in northeastern India as a whole has started to come up very fast ever since the turn of the millennium, we can say, especially from 2010, 2011 onwards for the entire region. We found many tourists coming into the 8 states of northeastern India, and we have had both domestic tourists and foreign tourists. So, despite having these very impressive numbers of tourist inflows into the northeastern part of the country, still you are very correct when you say that there is scope, there is a lot of potential which we are not being able to tap so far. I think the major hindrance for the progress of tourism in the entire region is infrastructure. Unless and until we are able to leverage on our infrastructure and improve it, both in terms of the physical infrastructure and also the soft infrastructure. That is something which we have to look into, because once we are able to improve on these two particular points, then I think many things more can happen, many more better things can happen for tourism in the entire region. Yes, it is true, in the last few years, the government of India has given a lot of importance to the infrastructure development in the region. We have now the Act East policy. Then we have many projects going on. Even in Meghalaya, we have many projects which are going on. We share a border with Bangladesh, so which is all very, very good. And I think we are all moving in the right direction. And the moment all these projects are in place, and we have the requisite infrastructure, I think we can see a lot more progress in terms of tourism in the region. Now, with that particular backdrop, when we come to the context of women-led tourism enterprises or women-led tourism services and activities in the region, I can tell you, especially for my state, Meghalaya, we have a lot of potential. As we all know, we have a lot of women entrepreneurs in Meghalaya. And I think this is also true for most of the other states in northeastern India. So women are spearheading they are one of the groups of people who are spearheading the entire tourism activity. And they actually play a very important role. If you go to any of the destinations that we have, you will find them at the forefront doing all types of business activity, offering all types of tourism services, right from food to accommodation to beverages to services, and all types of cultural activities, entertainment activities like songs and dance and drama and music. You'll find women at the forefront. So they are very, very important stakeholders in tourism development. But the only issue here is, again, even in this particular aspect, some work has to be done, because some of the businesses that these women do in the context of tourism are very small enterprises which contributes very less to their livelihoods and their socio-economic well-being. So some sort of a scale up and upscaling is required there also, which of course we will be able to do with proper strategies that we can have on the ground.
True, sir. I agree. How can the growth of tourism led by women contribute towards enhancing women's economic empowerment in the region? Like, in what ways that it could empower women's economic positioning in the region with respect to this women-led initiatives, especially on the border areas. Could you
Correct.
please shed some light?
Yes, correct. So basically, we have to look. What are the resources that these women have, so that they can use in the context for their livelihoods, and then the economic empowerment, or even the socio-economic empowerment. One particular area which can really work for them is handicrafts, and this skill that they have to make certain type of wares and handicrafts and tools and different types of items that they can make using the raw materials that they have in their particular area. This is one aspect which can be looked into, because if they are able to produce these products, and they're able to sell them to the tourists and offer them as services to the tourists, then it will lead to an increase in their income, and that would naturally lead to their economic empowerment and even the socio-economic empowerment. So that is one particular area. And the second area is agriculture and rural tourism. That is another area, because as we all know, agriculture is a very important sector in the northeastern region. So, combining tourism with agriculture by using a model of eco-tourism, this can work very well for them. And especially in villages where there's a lot of unity and cohesiveness, if they can come together and start community-based tourism, then this will be empowering not just for individual women, but all women of a particular village or a particular community. So this is another area which can be looked into, which can really do very well for them. The other one is culture in terms of food, and in terms of traditions, and in terms of practices. If this can be showcased to the tourists by the women, for example, the food and the beverages, if this can be showcased, it can be sold to them, then this also will lead to the socio-economic empowerment of women. And research studies have showed that if women are empowered, they have some agency in terms of their own economic well-being, then this works very well, not only for that particular woman, but for the entire household, for the children, for the entire household, in terms of the education and health of her children. So that is why the economic empowerment of women becomes very important. And if you look at agriculture, community-based tourism, rural tourism, handicrafts, and food and beverages, when we combine all of these together, I think they can really add to the economic empowerment of women.
Sir, what about the how can the women in the border areas make use of their cultural heritage? You gave us the examples of food, music, dance, and this handicraft and all those skills, traditional skills what they have. How about cultural heritage, which that if that can be utilized in promoting women-led tourism initiatives in the region? So what is your idea about it?
Thank you so much, Mr. Prasanna. That's a very good question. See, for that to materialize, we actually need a proper business model. And in fact, if you like, we need a proper development model, because sometimes if you look at everything only from the context of a business model, it may not work for us. We
Okay.
have to also things in the context of development model, whereby anything that we do in the villages, in the border areas, must lead, and it must end up development of those people. A business model may bring profit, but it may result in the destruction of the environment. So it can fail in that particular aspect. That is why nowadays we tend to look more in terms of a development model, because a development model is bigger in scope than a business model. And if you like, a development model includes a business model within its entire structure. So that's why for me, personally, Mr. Prasad, I like to think in the terms of a development model. Now, what I mean to say by this is that we need to have a number of things in place so that we can showcase the culture of the people in the border areas to the entire world. What are they? First of all, we need to have proper networking. uh, in any development model, in any activity that we do, networking is actually very important. We must have networks with these tour operators in the cities and towns and in other parts of India. That is a very important start, because unless and until we have networking, then whatever tourism assets that we have in terms of culture that we want to showcase will remain with us. People will not come, people will not see, people will not experience. And how will people come and see and experience? They will come through the tour operators, they will come through travel agencies, they will come through various itineraries which are being offered in different parts of the country. So we have to network with them, first of all. Then number two, after networking, we need to have an itinerary in such a way that people can come over to our border villages and not just come and go, but they will stay there at least for 2 3 days, because to experience culture, be it in terms of music, dance, food, anything at all, you have to be there for some time to really experience, to immerse yourself in that culture so that you can learn. Because culture is not something that I just go stay there for 3 4 hours and move out, then I'll not learn anything. So if you really want to experience that after networking, we need proper itineraries with these networks that we have, the tour operators, so that when tourists come to our border villages in the entire northeastern region I'm talking about, they will at least stay there for at least 2 3 days so that they can really experience the culture. And how does that work for the villages and for the women in those villages? If people, they just come and go, they get no benefits, the local people. But if the tourists, they come and they stay for some time, then they will have to consume, they will need accommodation, they will need many other services for which the local community will also grow in terms of its revenue and its development. So this is what basically the two things that we have to do: proper networking, proper itineraries, and yes, of course, like I started in the beginning, proper infrastructure. People will not come to our places if the roads are not proper, if we don't have proper airports, if we don't have proper railways. So this connectivity in terms of physical infrastructure then becomes very important. Then only we can see some light as far as how the border villages of the border areas of northeastern region as a whole can benefit from tourism. And in the end, the soft infrastructure, which means the capacities and the skill of the people. Tourism and hospitality is mainly driven by people. Uh, our behavior, our way of talking, our hospitality, our the manner in which we deal with people, we talk to people, we communicate with people. This soft infrastructure is also very important. So we have to develop this one also. The good thing about northeastern region right now is that we have many universities and colleges, including my own university here in NEHU. We have these courses on tourism and hospitality. So things are starting to change now. Students are studying these courses. After studying, they're going back to their towns and cities and villages. Some of them, they are from the border areas only, they're going back there. And we try to encourage them that when you go back, now that you have the skill, you have the soft infrastructure with you, you please try to promote tourism in your place. But then for that to happen, networking, then proper itineraries, physical infrastructure, soft infrastructure, all the four things must be in place. If we have only one or the other in terms of the entire mix that we need, the border villages will not benefit in any way. We need all of these things together. That is why I said earlier, we need to think in terms of a development model, move beyond business and look at this particular perspective in terms of a development model.
Right, Professor, I agree with you. Uh, Professor, we all know that in Northeast India, women hold a very high position, and especially in Meghalaya, because of matrilineal lineage, what they follow, women are given relatively, more freedom compared to the rest of India. However, I still believe that there could be several obstacles which could stop, or which could at least you know uh, reduce the speed or the speed with which this woman can get involved in promoting rural tourism activities and all. Could you please list out few major obstacles which are there in that regard?
Okay. Yes, It is true, like you said, that women here in the northeastern part of the country, and especially in my state, Meghalaya, they hold a very high position. That is very true. But still, challenges are there. If you look at studies, you look at research, you look at reports, you will find that. I don't think I have to say too much. And some of us are aware also when we look at reports of certain organizations that although women they are held in very high esteem, but issues are still there. It is not as simple and as rosy as we think. It is not exactly like that. But still, leaving that aside, you see the participation of women in any development model, in any even business model, if you like, requires one very important aspect, and that is agency, the voice to speak, the voice to say something which will be heard by others, and when they hear, they take your opinions, your views with respect. Now, one of the major problems that we find as far as women here is concerned is that although they are very important players in the economic space, in the socio-economic, in the cultural space, but when it comes to decision making and even a policy formulation, if you like, we normally do not find them in the forefront, right? So for women to really benefit from anything, any economic activity, tourism we are talking about right now, their voice, their agency must be heard, and they must be part of any plans, any strategies, any policies that are being formulated and they are being implemented also. Why do I say that? Let me cite a very small example. Studies have shown that if you give 10,000 rupees to a man, there's a very good chance that person will say, what business can I do with 10,000 rupees? What change in society can I bring with 1,000 rupees? That male mindset that we have, that everything has to be big, everything has to be grand. So we have that particular mindset. But if you give 10,000 rupees to a woman, this is not me speaking, these are research studies, I'm citing from them only. But if you give 10,000 rupees to a woman, with this 10,000 rupees, women have shown to be being able to do wonderful activities, wonderful business, and bring about change and development. For them, with 10,000 rupees, they can do a lot. This is precisely the reason why most of the self-help groups that we find, they are all women based. Why? Because they can work with small amounts. For them, no amount is small. Even a very small amount for a male can be a big amount for a woman, and she can do a lot. Like I said, 10,000 is nothing for a male, but for a female, in most cases, they can do a lot of activity with that and bring about a lot of change and development. It is in this particular context, it's very important to bring them into the forefront, but somehow we are not being able to do that. One of the reasons is, especially in the context of Meghalaya, I will say, women, especially in the village, in the villages, in the rural areas, they do not have too much of agency. Because you see, we have these something which we call Dorbar Shnongs. We don't have Panchayati Raj over here. We have Dorbar Shnong, right? We have these locality meetings. It's a sort of a general council, if you like. Okay, and normally in these general councils, even today, in some of the places in rural areas, I'll not talk about Shillong. Things are changing over here, but when we go to the villages and rural areas, even today, women are not allowed to be a part of that particular council. Sometimes, if they are allowed to be a part, they are not allowed to speak. And sometimes, even if they are allowed to speak, they are not allowed to be in positions of leadership where they can lead, they can decide from the front. They are not able to do that. Now, as long as women are not able to be in the forefront of strategy and policy and decision making, hurdles will always be there for them to grow, because the male psyche will always plan and execute things keeping in mind their own perspective, which is a different perspective from women. But if you want women to come up, then we need women in positions of power and authority and accountability and responsibility and decision making. Then only things will start to change. Unless this thing happens and starts entering in the rural areas, I still see that the growth of women enterprises in the rural areas, be it tourism, be it anything else, I still see that the progress will be very, very slow unless this change in the entire structure of decision making happens.
Very true, Professor. I strongly agree with your, statement that women can manage finance better than men.
My thesis was on women empowerment only, and I saw the same thing in the state of Meghalaya also. Even a small amount is very important for women, but this small amount, when you give to a male, he'll say, with this small amount, what will I do? That is normally the response that I get. So yeah, this is actually a very important learning for us, for everyone.
Give you, one or two examples, where women have successfully led the rural tourism initiatives, either in the state of Meghalaya or in any other part of Northeast India.
Okay, I can give you one very good. For the other northeastern states, I have seen, I have been there, I'm aware, but since I'm not really immersed into that, so I'll not touch upon the other states. But I can tell you, even in other states of northeastern India, women are doing very well in some of the destinations. But I will not cite them as an example in this case, because I have not been in those places long enough to really have the agency to say anything at all. But for my state, I will give you a very good example because I've been there for quite some time. I've gone there a number of times also and interviewed a number of people. Shillong. Uh, I'm sure you must have heard about this place, Shillong, where you have this crystal clear Umngot River, which has become a unique selling point of Meghalaya tourism and all that. This is that same Dauki area that we talk about, Dauki and Darang and Shillong, that particular cluster over there. Now, in Shillong village in particular, because that is the village which really came up in the context of doing tourism activities and adventure activities in tourism. Now, if you go there to Shillong, even today, you will find uh, almost all of the services that you have over there: food, beverages, accommodation, okay, any sort of cultural activity, everything is being led by women. They are the one at the forefront, and they are the one also selling any sort of craft and wares that they can make. Even today, they are very much at the forefront. In Shillong, if there is any activity which is driven by the males, it's simply the tourism activities, like for example, swimming or boat ride or boating or snorkeling or scuba diving. Those are driven by males actually. But apart from that, everything else, all of the services are all driven by females. They are the one at the forefront. Everything is being managed by them. Everything is being done by them. So this is actually a very good example to tell us that yes, women can do it if we give them a chance. There is nothing that a male can do which a woman cannot do, right? They can also do it. Females can do it, and they have been doing it. Shillong in Meghalaya is a very, very good example. We have other examples also, but I think for now this is a very good example. And this has become so popular a model that many researchers have been going to that place to simply see how these women have been doing tourism activities over there. Apart from that, if you go to any destination, any spot in Meghalaya, you'll always find women at the forefront, so selling everything, right? From, like I said, any service that you need in tourism, they are always there at the forefront. So yes, they can do it. They have been doing it. But like I said just a while back, unless and until these very same women who are at the forefront, they are also in positions of decision making, I think progress will be very, very slow. The moment they are able to enter over there, they bring their perspective, then they strategize and formulate policy and implement accordingly. I think progress will be very, very fast then.
Very, very inspiring, Professor. Yeah, it inspires. I hope that it inspires women from other parts of the country also to take up such lead roles in tourism initiatives. Professor, as we all know that if tourism not managed properly, it could lead to many other negative impacts. So, in that context, how important it is, according to you, to include sustainable practices into the regional tourism initiatives, especially along the border areas? So, what is your perspective on it?
Yeah. The tourism that we have over here is basically nature based tourism. Everything is nature based. Whatever that we do, the platform is always nature. It is nature based. It is this, it is this reason, this particular context whereby sustainability becomes even more important for us. We are not a destination where we have other activities whereby we can, sustain and continue into the long run. We are a destination where, even in the border areas, these are destinations where all the tourism that is being done, everything is nature based tourism. We depend on nature. So since we depend on nature, for us sustainability becomes even more important. As we all know, the entire northeastern region is classified as the Indian Himalayan region, including the state of Meghalaya. And we have seen there are many reports, enough reports, which tells us that the Indian Himalayan region has been losing its biodiversity like anything in the last few decades. And we are seeing that in Meghalaya also. Now, keeping in mind this loss of biodiversity that we have, it will impact upon the sustainability of tourism. Again, keeping in mind climate change, which we are experiencing even today here in Shillong and in Meghalaya as a whole, and the northeastern region, because of the depression in the Bay of Bengal. Keeping in mind these type of extreme weather events, sustainability of nature-based tourism again is going to suffer into the long term. It is because of these type of reasons, these type of macro level changes that we see, that we really have to be careful when we do our tourism. For me personally, even before we go to sustainable tourism, I think we have to touch upon responsible tourism. I think that is where we start, because unless we are responsible in the way in which we do tourism, we will never reach the level of sustainability. Uh, you know, I always look at it in this particular way. You go to people and you tell them, you go to the border areas, like in this case, and you tell them that the practices that you do or we do has to be sustainable. That can be a bit difficult for them to understand. I think the starting point is we have to tell them that let us do responsible tourism. Let us be responsible in terms of waste and waste disposal. Let us be responsible in terms of waste management. Let us be responsible in terms of the number of people who comes to our destination. Let us be responsible in the context of the services that we offer. Let us be responsible in terms of the raw materials that we use to make our services. Let us be responsible in the context of not using too much of plastics and all that. Let us be responsible in terms of teaching the tourists that this is a responsible tourism destination. So even the tourists, we request them to be responsible towards the destination. I think that is where we have to start. After that, slowly then we enter into the highest level of it all, which is sustainability, looking into the long-term picture. And if we are responsible, I think sustainability also will just follow automatically. It will not be too much of a problem. But for that to happen, we need proper initiatives at the ground. Sometimes we have too many plans, too many strategies, too many policies, and they all look excellent. On paper they're absolutely excellent, but on the ground sometimes things just don't percolate to the ground. So this is what we have to look into. We need a mechanism where if something is there in strategy and in policy, we need a mechanism to make sure that what we have on paper actually percolates onto the ground. And for that to happen, we need a proper system to monitor everything. We need to have monitoring agencies, if you like, for the border areas, which will monitor how sustainable are their activities, so that tourism can be maintained and it can be continued into the very long future. So monitoring agencies, I think it's important. Unless we are able to do that, what is on paper will stay on paper. What is on the ground will be absolutely opposite of what we actually want to do. So I think this is what we have to look into. It's a big issue, not just for the northeastern region. I think it's a big issue for the entire country. So, and the way out is to have proper monitoring of these plans and policies, which we have in mind in the context of sustainability.
I strongly agree with you that the concept of responsible tourism is something that can be introduced to the local communities, because that is the way to start with. Instead of
Yeah.
talking about sustainable tourism, that might be a
Yeah.
little overhead for them. To start with responsible tourism is a very good idea. And then to continue with, sir, rural tourism along the border areas is definitely dependent upon your collaborations and partnerships with the countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, etc. So in that context, how important it is for cross-border collaborations with, say, the tourist agencies on the other side or entrepreneurs on the other side. How can such relationships to be built, and how can women on our border areas can engage with such ideas? So, what is your opinion on it, sir?
Yeah. Tourism is all about having good relations with tourism is all about having good relations with everyone. For us as a region, we need to have good relations with Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, if you like, Myanmar. These countries are very important for us in the context of tourism. We go a bit beyond and we look at ASEAN nations and all that, but I think for now we'll not go to that particular extent. We'll look at our immediate neighbors that we have in the region. It's very important because unless and until we have good relations with them, we as a region will not really be able to tap our tourism potential. Mr. Prasanna, Bangladesh, the number of people who come to India as tourists from Bangladesh is always number one, number two, or number three in terms of international tourist arrivals. It's always Bangladesh one, America two, UK three, or America one, Bangladesh two, UK three. It's always like that. The number of Bangladeshi citizens who come to India as tourists is numbering around, I think, 12 13 lakhs per annum. Now that's a huge number, but where is the catch? This is the catch. When they come to India as tourists, they come by flight, and most of the time the most popular flight is Dhaka to New Delhi. So from Dhaka, just imagine Dhaka is so near to the northeastern region. But actually from there, they go to New Delhi. And then from New Delhi, they go to the different destinations that we have in India. And very few of them, they end up in northeastern India. Very few. It is in this context that I say it's very important for us to have these land custom stations working in such a way that they also facilitate tourism activity and the inflow of tourists. Imagine a situation. Bangladeshi citizens who wants to come to India as tourists, we give them a chance also to enter India through Dauki, land custom station. Give them a chance to also enter through Dauki. So that will be good for the region, right? And then from Nepal, from Bhutan, from Myanmar, if at all possible, from Moreh border, although the situation right now over there is not very conducive. But I'm just saying for future context, if we have these routes from where tourists can come directly into the region, do not make them go from Dhaka to Delhi, and then from Delhi they go to different parts of the country. In most likelihood, they'll not even come to northeastern India, although Dhaka is very close to us. So we need a system whereby they can come using roads and land routes. They can come to the northeastern region, and that is how we can really benefit. That is how we can really do well for the border areas in terms of tourism. But for that to happen, we need proper roads, we need proper infrastructure, we need safety and security, law and order. Many things are there, which I'm sure the government of India is working on, because now we have the Act East policy, which is looking into this particular aspect only, infrastructure development, so that we can have direct interface with these countries, our very immediate neighbor, international countries, okay, Bangladesh and Bhutan and Myanmar, and so that they can come directly to us without going towards the capital of the country and then come back to the northeastern region. So it's really amazing that so many people from Bangladesh, they come to India, but a very handful of them, they end up in the northeastern region. So this is what we have to look at: good relations, proper infrastructure, roadways, so that they can come directly to the northeastern region without going somewhere else in the country. I think that will help a lot.
Hardly 1% of the foreign visitors who visit India will end up in Northeast India. The statistics
Less
say
than
that. So in that
less
context,
than one.
less than 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true, very true. In that context, my final question to you, Professor, is what can we do in terms of promotional activities and marketing strategies? Say, for instance, how Thailand uses marketing strategies. That's of a very different level altogether. So what can we do in India, especially in the Northeast India? How can we promote this region? Of because the fact is that the region is full of tourism potential. So how can we make use of effective marketing strategies and by effectively using the technologies, using technology and strategies, and how can we promote this region better? What is your idea on it? What can be
Yeah.
done in this context?
You see, it's not like the government of India has not been promoting Northeastern region as a tourism destination. They have been doing it for many years together, but somehow it is not working. And my analysis of why it is not working is because whatever promotion that you do, whatever be it at domestic level or international level, whatever that we are doing, it's not really showing results on the ground because we are lacking in terms of infrastructure. In terms of the product, these products are beautiful products, nature-based products, but we don't have the infrastructure to connect the products, right? And then the pricing. Once we don't have the infrastructure to connect the products, then what about the pricing of these products? Then that becomes a question. Now, what has been happening for the last few years is that we have just been promoting, and then when the tourist potential tourist, let's say from South India, he sees and he says, okay, I saw this in this part of the region and I want to go there. Then they search. There is no networking, there is no itinerary, there's no infrastructure, there's no information about pricing and other things. Then that is how the whole idea ends up. So actually, even before doing promotion, we have to set things right on the ground. Once we have the proper infrastructure and services on the ground, then whatever promotion that we do, we are going to see results. So let's talk of a situation where right now we have everything set up on the ground. We have proper infrastructure, both physical and both hard and soft infrastructure. We have all the services, we have all the amenities, we have everything. Now, in that particular context, whatever promotion that we do is going to bring results on the ground. And the best type of promotion that we can do right now is by using social media. That is one medium that we can use, using social media. In the northeastern region, we have these organizations who have been working in the context of tourism, and they've been using either Facebook or Instagram or Twitter very heavily for the purpose of promotion of their attractions and their services and their destinations. They have been using these three. Although Facebook is starting to decline in popularity, but Instagram is like very popular now in the context of promoting a tourism destination. So what do we have to look at actually, instead of using these very hi-fi, spending a lot of money on advertising and marketing, we have to look at targeted segments, a particular segment which we want to target, whether it'll be for people who like nature, whether it'll be for people who like adventure activities, whether it'll be for people who like culture, whether it'll be people who like to experience the border areas of the region. We need to find these specific targets. And then once we find the targets and we segment them, then we use social media to reach out to these targets. I think this is much more effective than using this whole scale, very broad sort of advertisement which reaches everyone but does not appeal to anyone. We have to look at it in such a way that we find the people for whom this thing is going to appeal, and then we reach out to them using social media. For me, I think that is the best sort of promotion that we can think of.
Very, very true, Professor. I agree with you. Such tailor-made approach. It's kind of very specifically targeted audience, reaching is very important. Uh, Professor, it was really an eye-opener for me, and thank you so much for sharing your ideas and experience with us. And I wish we'll have more such interactions in the future. Thanks for your time. Thank you so much.
Mr. Prasanna and the entire team, thank you so much for everything. It was a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And all the viewers who are watching us online, for more such videos, please do visit our website. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.